Zelda Breath of the Wild walkthrough, so besides probably the final cutscene, that previous cutscene in the last video is one of the longest inside of the entire game. But it's a pretty cool cutscene, and if you find a bunch of these Rudo travelers or Rito music players, you can actually listen to that whenever you want to, so that's kind of cool. But anyway, there's some sunset fireflies that we're going to be picking up on the way here, and I was a little bit surprised those things didn't run away. Normally if you run right into them, they just kind of fly away, so that was kind of cool. But we'll be running back up here to the shrine, and we're going to want to actually complete the shrine in this video. So the shrine is basically the game's combat tutorial. I've already done a couple of the abilities that you do inside of this, because you can start them whenever. You don't have to do this shrine to unlock them, but it just shows you how they work. And if you've ever seen me kind of have that flurry show up, whoops, I forgot to cut out this load screen too, but anyway, if you have ever seen me have that flurry option show up when you dodge something at the last second, then that's what we're going to be learning inside of this. This is also kind of an introduction to combat shrines in general. Combat shrines are, in a way, some of the most useful because you can come back to them whenever there's a blood moon, and a blood moon we will see eventually. A blood moon basically just respawns all of the enemies that you've killed inside of Hyrule, and that mostly includes shrine combat trials and also the mini-bosses, or I guess the demi-bosses? I don't know, whatever you want to call them. So this shrine has some actually pretty useful items. It has a shield that has 16 defense, which is the most that we've seen yet, and we're not going to be using that for a very long time, so just keep that in your it's there when I need it list. And then there's also another weapon here, I think, that's pretty strong too. I think it was about 16, was it? Yeah, 15, okay. So we'll be saving that one too. Then you walk up here and it will activate, and it's going to demonstrate how sidestepping works, strafing and side jumping, how jumping backwards works, and also how parrying with your shield works. Now, for the most part, I'm not going to be deliberately using these abilities because it requires quite a bit of practice, and being a walkthrough, I want to do things partly the easiest way. So the easiest way is actually going to be things that don't require a whole lot of practice. Now, if you whack this thing too much, your weapon will break. I kind of wish that rule was, skipped for this part, but anyway, here's the Flurry Rush again, and it's pretty dang lenient in this fight. You're gonna have to be way more specific with your jump timing in real fights in the real world, as you've probably noticed by now. So this next one is a backflip, and you just kind of wait for him to swing at you, and then you can jump backwards, and that will be enough for the Flurry Rush. For real enemies, you'll have to do this at the last possible second, although not really the last possible second, but just, you don't want to do it too early, because then you don't get the fancy flurry, and if you do it too late, you end up getting hit. So parrying will actually be really useful against Guardians later on, but once again, it does require quite a bit of timing, and if you mess up the parry too many times, and your shield will break, so it's kind of a risky thing. But here we go, he's going to swing at us, and I'm going to get a little bit closer, and then you're going to want to push A at about the right time there, and that'll stun him for a second and let you whack him. But of course, this is just the combat tutorial, so you don't really need to kill him much anyway. Finally, it is the charge attack, which I don't really use hardly if ever, because it takes way too long, it leaves you open, and also uses a lot of your stamina. But that's going to be what kills him. We'll also get a Guardian Sword in return, which does 20 damage, which, once again, we won't be using too much if we can avoid it, because we'll want to save it for better enemies. And then it will drop a couple of ancient items that we'll want to pick up, and that'll pretty much be it for the shrine. I think the chest right before the guy gives an opal, and every single combat shrine you run into will have a chest at the end of it, so that's kind of cool. Sometimes it's a weapon, sometimes it's a gem. Gems are pretty good for selling, and there's a few quests that need them, but for the most part, if you need money, just sell your gems and you can get more later. So anyway, that'll be it for the shrine, and also it for this video.